Antinius clown. Antinius was a clown. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. So you're watching Watch This, Read That, where I discuss TV, film, screenwriting tips for beginning writers, as well as all things books. So today, as you can see by the title, I got a chance to see the Odyssey, and I want to talk about it briefly. This will be a slight spoiler. It's not going to be a full recap, but I just want to talk about a few things that I got from the film, things that I like, and just like my overall thoughts. So first and foremost, I think that this film is something that you can watch even if you have not read the book, The Odyssey. Now, I have read the book twice. I read The Odyssey in high school, and I had to read it in college because I was an English major and it was a part of the curriculum of European Lit. So I had to read that. I had to read the Iliad and just like the Divine Comedy. It's just like it was mandatory literature that you had to read. So I've read this, and it has been over 20 years since I've read the Odyssey, and I was kind of worried about that. I even thought about picking the book up again. I was like, girl, I'm not doing all of that. But when after watching this, I was like, oh my god, like there were things that I remember. There was things that I was like, wait, is this a part of Nolan's interpretation? And then I kind of like remembered, I was like, no, I don't think this happened, and we'll talk about that. But I will say I was able to follow things, and it still was done in a way where if you have never read this, I think that you will still be heavily entertained and intrigued, even enough to try to read the book, which I am going to go back and read it because it intrigued me to like check up on some things. So that's first and foremost. You don't have to be someone who has read the book in order to enjoy this. Secondly, I would say I was worried about a film that was almost 3 hours because I do not like watching 3-hour films in the theater. I'm sorry, I'm not one of those girls. That's something I like to, that's almost one of the reasons, I hate to say it, that I did not watch certain films that were 3 hours in the theater. I couldn't do it. But I was like, I really want to see this film, and it did not feel like 3 hours, y'all. Like, I feel like because of the pacing of the film, he did a really great job at pacing this, and I think it's because the way the story was told, where it was kind of woven in and out of order, where it wasn't a linear story. We start from the past to the present, then back. We're going back through storytelling, and other figures are telling their interpretations. We're getting different we're getting the story from different viewpoints, which I liked, and I think that helped the story go by faster. So that is another thing. If you are worried about watching a film that's almost 3 hours long, girl, it did not feel like it. It was actually pleasantly done in a great way. The other thing that I liked about this, I think that the actual story and the way it was told, with the accents, which were, a lot of them were, the accents were very American. I don't know, I actually liked it. Was anyone kind of like, oh, why is this? I actually didn't have a problem with it. I actually enjoyed it. I don't know, like I liked it, and it made it feel like, although it was a period piece, a period mythical piece, it felt very relevant to today. It made me think about how a lot of people are coming to the revelation of the things that they thought they knew, and what they everything they thought, and they started to realize that everything is, I want to say a lie, but people are coming to the revelation that I thought this was this, but it's not, and this is a problem, and I might be a part of the problem. I thought that was very, I was like, this is very relevant to today. Now, I'm gonna come back to that whole storytelling, but that's why I didn't mind the accents of it being very American, because it felt very relevant to the pulse of everything that's going on today. I love the parallels of seeing the two warriors, which were Agamemnon and Odysseus. And we see, and I want to say, we see both of them go through, in some sense, their own tragedies. Like with Agamemnon, we see that although he was able to get home very quickly, there was a lot of things that he sacrificed that caused for his demise. Which this is one thing that I was like, man, like I really wish we would have went more in depth with the storyline with Agamemnon. But we see how he sacrificed his daughter to Poseidon so that he could have a clear voyage when he went to Troy. And that also, in the end, it cost him. Like I said, it is going to be a slight spoilers. We see that his wife murdered him, but he was able to get home faster. But it also ended in tragedy. Not only did he sacrifice his daughter, but his wife betrayed him and murdered him. So we see that betrayal and also that tragedy. And in the same breath, with Odysseus, we see his full journey of, well, at least parts of his full journey of how 20 years he has been gone away from his family. That also cost him not really raising his son, because he was away, and also the way his home was infiltrated while he was away. We also see how the sacrifice of the men around him, his soldiers, his warriors, how they were heavily affected because of the actions that he took. Even one thing that I was like, I totally forgot about this, but the way there were some choices that Odysseus made that I thought was kind of selfish, and it really spoke to, like, later on in his revelation. I don't understand why he did not follow Agamemnon, because if you know he sacrificed his child to get clear waters and you want to get your men home, why not just take that route to follow him back home? At least for the safety of your men, you and your men. And he says, I have been following Agamemnon for years, and I'm paraphrasing, it's time that I take my own lead. And the men are looking around like, okay. As we see, as he lands to his next destination, the thing that happens that really made a turn point that affected him, and that was the killing, or I don't know if they killed him, or they might have killed him. I'm going blank, but the wounding of the Cyclops. I don't know what the Cyclops name was, but the wounding of Cyclops, which is, he was, I believe, kin or son of Poseidon, and from then on, it was a shit show, y'all. And I'm just like, and they even when the men were telling him, like, I heard him when he was praying, he was praying to Poseidon. I was like, I don't know if it was me, but it did sound like he was underwater. I don't know if it's because they were in the cave. It just was muffled, but it sounded like he was underwater. I could not understand nothing he was saying. I think I did hear Poseidon though. But that's when we kind of all see the shift. And I thought that was very interesting. We see how there were code that Odysseus had as a warrior. He started to leave those by the wayside, and we slowly see that starting not only with him not wanting to follow Agamemnon, but also with the sacrificing of the men when they were trying to leave the cave when the Cyclops was there. And then even with him being approached saying like, we have to give these men a proper burial, and he's saying, you know, our proper burial is us making it out alive. And I was just like, wow, you can see him shifting and being kind of in like a survival kind of mode, and like leaving all of his ethics to the side. And it started way before that. He goes into details later on of how he knew, even when he landed into Troy, he knew that this was wrong. But I want to go to, there was something else. Oh, this reminded me, because of the whole soldier story, warrior soldier story. It reminded me of the film, because during this whole season of Odysseus trying to get back home and him coming to the understanding of why he doesn't want to go home. And partly that is mixed with the fact that he is with Calypso and she is feeding him the lotus flower, and he has been gone for such a long time because of that. But there were other things where I think he did not want to face the fact that he kind of left his code to the side. Like, you know how I know in like America, with American soldiers, you know, you never leave your men behind. There is a code, and I'm gonna continue to keep saying this code because I think this was something that was very much a theme in this film. This reminded me of the film Courage Under Fire. If you have never seen Courage Under Fire, this stars Denzel Washington. It has like a heavy hitter cast too. Lou Diamond Phillips, Meg Ryan, Matt Damon plays in Courage Under Fire, and it follows Denzel Washington as he is investigating the death of the soldier. I'm not going to say who the soldier is. Y'all figure it out if you have never seen this. This is such a good friend. This is such a good film because it talks about the moral code between soldiers, and then also it's tricky where it's like you never leave a man behind. There's a code to having camaraderie with your men, but then also there's a code amongst each other where if they are doing things that are unethical, they have a bond with each other not to break that. And that's where the moral code, where are you going to actually be honorable and step up and be honest about things, or are you going to stay silent and fall to the wayside of your moral code and keep that camaraderie with your brothers? And I think that's so ironic that Matt Damon is the lead in this story, and this is one of the pivotal, I think, kind of revelations that he has about himself as a soldier, as a man, and how he is being haunted or taunted by the god Athena. And we later see who Athena is, who the figure that he is seeing of Athena, and that's who Athena is. And we later find that out. I kind of want to say it. We later find out when he goes to Troy to, you know, infiltrate Troy, that it was a young woman who was murdered, and that's probably one of the last things that he saw, where the straw that broke the camel's back, where he knew that he knew he was doing something wrong. And that whole entire journey, he is seeing this young woman in the lens that it is Athena, which I think is so interesting. And I think that oftentimes I really believe that is how God speaks to us. Like, it will nag and show you the things through something that you probably know you should have not done, or something. Sorry, my camera cut off. But I think oftentimes it was so interesting how Athena was presented to him in the form of something that I knew he knew that was very wrong. And it really spoke to another element of like sometimes we glorify, and I respect veterans. I have veterans in my family, but this goes into the other conversation with Cersei. The things that we later see the warriors, the soldiers do to the town, these innocent people that don't fully have anything to do with like the hierarchy system, which casualties in war, there's always going to be casualties. In government, there's always going to be casualties. We can see this right now in America. But the Cersei scene was, oh my god, it was I knew something was up, but I was just like, what is going on? When we saw those animals just lined up, and I was like, something is happening. I don't know what this is. And I fully forgot. Like, this is why I'm like, this makes me want to reread the book. I knew Cersei was a witch, of course, but it's just like I forgot about this stuff. But the monologue that she gives about these men, you know who they are. They are pigs. That's what they are. I didn't turn them into anything that they aren't. You know the things that they do. And she talked about the situation that happened to her when wherever she was infiltrated. And I was just like, yeah, we never think about it. We always think about, like, yes, we glorify certain like warriors and veterans in war, but people are being harmed in these things. Innocent people, like I said, casualties. And then there is a code of like, morally, what are these soldiers and these warriors doing when they go into these towns? Yeah. And so I like I said, seeing the parallel of like the tragedy of Odysseus' journey as well, him also, after being prophesied to by Cersei, then later being prophesied to by Agamemnon, and being prophesied to by Sinai. Like, first of all, Elliot Page did a great job. Everybody did a great job. Even like, I was like, Travis Scott, I didn't really, it was fine. Like, I'm like, everybody was just like on this cast, and I really feel like everybody did a great job. But one thing I wish, first of all, even like the coming back to like morals and going, like, Sinan was talking about how him and his father suffered for years because there was a promise that was made that his father will be taken care of, and Odysseus did not follow up on that. A moral revelation that he had to be faced with. Also, Antinius, clown. Antinius was a clown. Antinius, and I guess I would say Odysseus. Well, Odysseus was gone, but Antinius was supposed to keep. He was supposed to honor his word. A lot of people weren't doing that, and seeing that, and also the way Sinan was sacrificed, and him saying like, why didn't you tell us? And even later on we see that again with the men, when he asked, when he's approached and said, you knew that this was going to happen with the boat, why didn't you tell us to go the other way? And he was like, because I knew you wouldn't listen, or you wouldn't want to do this, and we needed to get further. And they're like, you're lying to us by omission, you're not saying things, which is another lesson. Just him not properly burying his men, and then also him not fully disclosing things, although when he does disclose things it goes awry. Like it just it also goes away, but it's because like this was all a part of the, I guess, the plan that occurred when you shift the order, the natural order of the gods. Like just the things that they did with the war, also killing or wounding the Cyclops, like just everything in order. It just really showed like a domino effect of him. Although Odysseus was not murdered by his wife, betrayed by his wife, there was things that he also went through that I think it was because of the war, like kind of like a karma, if you will, a sense. And I think if it wasn't for Athena pressuring him and really him, and it's just showing you how internally he was a good man in a sense, but I don't want to say a good man, but he had morals. It just was blinded by, or calloused by, the war and him wanting to be in survival to get back to his family. I also think that there was a sense of karma even with him being on the island with Calypso for 10 years. 10 years. I was like, damn. 10 years. And yeah, but what I think my camera cut off when I said this, but it reminded me a lot about the film Courage Under Fire. If you haven't seen Courage Under Fire, it's a great film. It also has Matt Damon in that film, and it really showcased how like soldiers having a conflicted identity with morality, camaraderie, and being honest. And I feel like there was some parallels with it. Like there were things that we saw in this story as well, which I thought, I don't know why instantly I just thought of Courage Under Fire when I was watching the film. I was like, this reminds me of a warrior having a revelation that, you know, I have to do the right thing. I have to go back and properly bury my men. I have to be honest about this. I have to make the wrongs right that I made. Was a part of this problem, and I thought it was beautifully done. I really did. One thing, okay, this is one thing that I was like confused about, and also I was like, come on, you gonna have to give us a little bit more about this. Like I said, the story with Agamemnon, I really wish there was a little more done with that. I really wish we would have saw a little bit more with that. Also, this is what I was confused about. Helen of Troy, first of all, I love Lupita. I think she did a great job. She didn't have a lot of dialogue and things like that. We didn't see a lot of her, but I didn't understand the scar. Can someone explain to me what the scar was? Because I don't remember that being in the book, or maybe I could be confused about that. I did not remember that they were identical twin sisters. Is that something that I'm tripping about? Or I could have sworn they were related, they were sisters or something like that, but I didn't know they were twin sisters. So just tell me if I'm tripping or whatever. But that's what I was kind of conflicted about, the scar. And then also I just wish we would have had more of Agamemnon's story. And he had no, like, he did not talk at all in this film. I was like, I really wish we would have had a little bit more of that, because I was like, oh, this is some drama. Like, I wanted to see more about that. And I know the backstory with his wife Clytemnestra. I think that's how you say her name. The names be killing me. But yeah, I know the backstory about the betrayal. But yeah, it makes me want to read this story again, because I'm like, ooh. But yes, it feel like, do y'all think he's gonna do the Iliad? Because this was actually really good, y'all. I have to say, I don't have a lot of gripes. It was just, I really wanted more with Agamemnon storyline. Also, see, I really wish we could see more of the betrayal. I know we saw the death, but yeah, I just want, I just want to see more. Even I thought we were going to see more of how Troy was infiltrated prior to what caused the war. I thought we were going to see that, what initially caused the war, and how Helen was stolen. Like, I just thought we were going to see more, but we didn't. But it was great. The pacing of the film was great, and yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed this film, y'all. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. Not pretty much. We, of course, we later see what happens in the end and how he starts to right his wrongs, with heading back to bury the men, give them a proper burial, which reminds me of Courage Under Fire, with being honest about what happened. Yeah. So yeah, like, I have to say I really enjoyed this film. I probably will purchase it once it is available. And yeah, like, do you guys think that Christopher Nolan would do the Iliad or anything related? What do you think? What do you think? Did you guys like it? Let me know if you read the book. If you planning to read it, I think I'm going to purchase it. I'm going to do, like, Barnes and Nobles does, like, the collector edition where it's like the really beautiful covers. I think I'm gonna try to do that, and I might also get the Iliad if they, I think they might have it all in one, so I'll see. But yeah, let me know if you guys like the story, if there's anything, that themes that you saw in the film that you enjoyed, what you liked, what you didn't like about it. Yeah, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.